Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We are ready to start our discussion, and before we begin, I would like to attract your attention to the safety precautions. Our company pays a lot of attention to safety, so please be sure that you notice the doors here. We are also equipped with fire alarms. Today, I hope there will be no emergency, but if you hear any alarm, please stand up and walk through the door to your right or to your left, following the indicators to the evacuation doors. Please also take care on the staircase. Do not use the elevators, and get together outside the building. In case you experience any health issues, please address those issues to the organizers of the events, and we will call the ambulance. Thank you very much for the attention, and at this I would like to begin our session. This session will be devoted to the modern technologies of people who work especially in remote areas and in remote companies, not only onshore but also in the sea, using modern technology and telemedicine in particular. The relevance of this discussion is obvious for the whole world, and here we can mention three different factors. First of all is the strategic development of our country, including the healthcare system, not only in the cities but also in remote areas, such as villages and industrial companies. Also the lack of industrial and human resources, especially in remote areas, as well as the need to increase the quality of medical services with the use of medical technologies that are also predicted for in the federal projects. Today we will discuss two models. The first model that is based on the federal program, and the model that is based on outsourcing the services. Today we will listen to experts and their experience on integration of certain telemedicine for industrial companies that work in remote areas. Being a moderator of this section, I would like to remind you about the time limits. The talk should last not more than 15 minutes, and we will also provide 5 minutes for questions and answers. The questions and answers session will begin after the presentation. During your presentations, I will remind you about the time, and if needed, I will give you additional time, 1 minute, to finalize your presentation. And with this, I would like to invite our first speaker, the expert from Norway, Kjetil Torgersen, the Chief Facilitator, and his colleague Kate Wald, also facilitator at Stavanger Acute Medicine Foundation for Education and Research. You're welcome.
You can access and read the article using the QR code on this slide. You will also find the QR code on our last slide. I think I was properly introduced. I also have my colleague doing the co-presentation. She is Kate Wald. She's a senior facilitator at our center in Stavanger. She's a graduated nurse and also has a master's degree in pre-hospital care from the University in Stavanger. SAFER is a foundation, a collaboration between Stavanger University Hospital, the University of Stavanger, and Lærdal Medical. This project was initiated in 2018. Equinor wanted to investigate whether they could improve the overall quality of the on-the-job training activities for their onshore emergency medical teams. The concept was designed based on repeated short, frequent simulation-based training sessions. The training was designed to be a supplement to regular simulation-based training at the simulation center. These offshore emergency medical teams consists of 1 medic and 5 to 6 first aiders and a consulting doctor onshore. The project was funded by Equinor, and technical innovations were made by Lærdal Medical. Safer developed the pedagogical model and facilitated all the training sessions. The aim of the article was to investigate, 1, whether telesimulation to an offshore oil platform was feasible. 2, if the participants think it could be a valuable supplement to regular training at the sim center every second year. 3, how the participants compared the telesimulation to regular sim center training. And 4, how they rated the learning outcomes from these telesimulation compared to sim center training. In a pedagogical context, the aim was to develop a tool that could increase effect of existing training programs. The telesimulation model enables low-dose, high-frequency training. Evidence support that this could increase learning outcomes and change clinical behavior. It will also allow us to design distributed practice training. So please, Kate, unmute and take over.
All the simulation sessions were facilitated by a senior facilitator at SAFER, and they were conducted a total of 10 simulations throughout the pilot testing period. We will now show you a short video showing how this worked. I am very sorry for the Norwegian language, but you will see a team of 1 nurse and 3 first aiders taking care of a patient in chest pain. They will assess the patient, give oxygen, take ECG, and send it to the doctor. They will give morphine and thrombolysis. And in the end, they will have a debrief where the participants sit in the installation offshore. The physician is in her office in Bergen, and the facilitator is at SAFER in Stavanger.
So if the organizers could now please show the video. That was the agreement, that they were to show the video. Please play it. Okay, that will obviously not happen, so I think we need to just proceed in our presentation, Kit.
Yes. So we will know this is the model of how this technology works, and as you can see, it's quite complicated. A standard scenario was used for all the simulations, and you can see the descriptions here. There was a patient presenting chest pain caused by a STEMI or a myocardial infarction. Aim was for ECG to be interpreted within 10 minutes and thrombolysis given within 20 minutes, as in Equinor's protocol. 1 hour was set aside to the simulation, and the debrief structure was according to EU sim methodology: description, analysis, and application phase. Short time after each of the every simulation, we sent an evaluation to each of the total 30 participants, and we get an answer from 23 of them. They answered their profession, their simulation-based training experience, and so on. Next slide. As you can see, there were 8 nurses, 12 first aiders and 3 physicians answering. And they reported on their prior experience from simulation-based training. As you can see, 52% were first aiders, and only 2 of them had no prior experience of simulation-based training. Yeah, and from the participants' point of view, telesimulation was rated just as good as or better than center simulation-based training in 87% of the evaluations. As you can see, we got quite high scores. We asked them to rate their experience from 1 to 5. It looks like the level of difficulty is okay, not too easy, not too hard. And the participants found a high level of realism in the scenario. That probably had to do with doing the simulation in their own environment, using their own equipment and calling the doctor just as they would do in a real life situation. As you can see, the participants rated the simulation experience very high and found this to be a good way of training. Next slide. And we had some limitations. There was a small number of participants, and we don't know how the training affected self-efficacy since this was not investigated, and we only had the results for Kirkpatrick level 1 perception, and there were only 1 training session per team, and there were no room for improvements. And we didn't use a validated evaluation form, so we don't know whether they answer what we wanted them to do, but we think they did. The offshore nurses found this to be a good way of training, also because they didn't know what was coming. They usually design all the training themselves. Kjetil?
Thank you. So even though this oil company did not implement the telesimulation at its 35 sites, we believe that the experiences from this project might have impact in smaller companies, other industries, and in international projects, since the methodology enables experts to support simulation-based training remotely. To investigate the learning outcomes and transferability to other industries and also to low and mid-income countries. We are currently doing several projects where we are testing out the remote or telesimulation concepts. One of them is using Microsoft HoloLens. This is done in a collaboration with the tech company Bouvet. We are also conducting training and faculty development programs in Africa and in India, where this technology is part of our concepts. So we believe that this is something that is there is a need for this in the future, and that the value of the experiences from this project is transferable. So I think there was 5 minutes allocated for questions. So please ask questions if you have them.
Thank you very much. That was a very interesting project. I also have experience in sea work, and I can really evaluate the relevance. Thank you also very much for your presentation, not on the topic. Indeed, we have one question to you. the question is, are there alternative ways to organize tele-modeling and telesimulation that does not use internet or with low internet connection?
Because the internet connectivity, especially in Africa, is an issue for us. Right now, there are no alternative ways of doing this. You need at least a 4G connection to allow for the bandwidth needed. But we know that the 5G networks are coming, and hopefully when those are ready, we have tested enough of these concepts so that we can scale up and roll them out with no problems. But for now, the internet connectivity and bandwidth is an issue in certain places.
Нет, ну спасибо большое. Еще раз доклад. Уважаемые...
Dear colleagues, let's switch to another speaker. Next speaker is Dr. Talik Gailan, marine medicine and diving physician, head of the Moroccan Marine Medicine Society, Morocco. Dr. Tariq, you're welcome. You're welcome. We are listening to your talk.
So much.
Доктор Тарик, мы вас слушаем. Начинайте.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you, to share with you our experience in Morocco, and to speak about our opportunities in the maritime, what we hope about telemedicine in maritime sector here in Morocco. So we will speak about telemedicine in maritime sector in Morocco, what's opportunities. I'm sorry, I don't know if you hear me very good. I think my voice is not good. Just because yesterday we had elections in Morocco, all elections for the municipality, for the parliament, and for the regions. Regions are like states in Russia. So we finish around 4 or 5 morning. We had not much time for sleeping, so for this my voice is not good. Please forgive me. So just for introduction, to see that here in Morocco we have a very important maritime coast with the marine sector, which provide nearly 140,000 seamen, with 120,000 in the fishing sector and 10,000 in the merchant marine, and then 10,000 other 10,000 in the port. And we signed the MLC convention we know that since January 22, the ILO MLC has required all flag sector to provide seafarers with the medical care as possible equivalent to the care they would receive ashore, and to ensure that medical advice by radio or satellite communication to ship at sea is available at hour of the day or night. As such, every ILO signatory nations, like Morocco, is bound to have a pre-arranged system for wireless medical advice available to ships of all nationalities, raw to cloak and free of charge, also known as telemedicine assistance services. This network ensures communication through marine radio, email, telephone, or fax, and in more recent times, via real-time video calls. The legal framework here in Morocco is now defined. We have our law for exercise of medicine, the law for exercise of medicine in Morocco, the law 131/30, relating to the practice of medicine, introduced this principle of telemedicine in his section in the chapter 3. So as telemedicine and its global outlines and implements decree has defined the types of telemedicine in Morocco. So we have teleconsultation, tele-expertise, remote monitoring, remote assistance, and the medical response. What is our marine sector in Morocco? We have merchant marine and fishing marine. We have just to see that the fishing sector is very important in Morocco, more important than merchant marine. Even if recently in the last 10 years, with many merchants or the merchant marine take every day more importance, but since 20 or 30 years ago, it was the fishing sector which was the very important, and it participates with 2 till 3 of the GPD in Morocco. So now telemedicine has become reality in Morocco with the legal basis of this practice. We spoke about the law who organized the practice of medicine and practice of telemedicine, but also there was a special decree, or a special only for telemedicine, relating to the practice of telemedicine in Morocco, was adopted by the government recently. So according to the Article 10 of this decree, the relations between physicians practicing in the private sector and non-profit health establishments, private health establishments, or establishments similar to clinics which organize a telemedicine activity must make the difference, subject to an arrangement which specifies the conditions for exercising said activity. So with this, there was also improving of learning and formation in this field, and the first promotion of students with a degree in telemedicine began in 2020. There was the university or the medical school of Casablanca who began this learning for doctors, and now we have our first promotion ready to practice telemedicine. What other opportunity? There was creation of specific or scientific society or scientific organization for telemedicine, Moroccan Society for Telemedicine. It was created in 2018 in Rabat, but is national organization. The aim of this organization is promote telemedicine in Morocco and make this practice easy and known by the majority of doctors. What other opportunity? There was also creation of telemedicine centers in Morocco with the help and the support of this scientific organization I spoke about, which is the Moroccan Society for Telemedicine, which will properly equip pilot seats located in rural and isolated areas for the realization of teleconsultations act, covering both the general medicine and specialties identified as priority. Ultimately, a national plan will be developed and implemented. So it was just an experience first to help persons in these isolated regions to receive normal medical care, but also it was an experience to see if telemedicine will encounter some problems to generalize this experience around all Morocco. So there was just a question. If the answer, I'm sure it will be yes. If COVID-19 was an opportunity for telemedicine, yes, it was, and I think not only in Morocco, but I think in all the world with this pandemic, there was many practice trying to making this distanciation between patients and practitioners to preserve the health of practitioners and also of patients sometimes, because the transmission can be from both directions. So there was development of teleconsultation and remote medicine during the pandemic,